Hey guys, this is just a quick video to give you an overview of week 5. So this week we move on to working with short stories, and you have 2 short stories to read this week. So in another video I'm going to go over the essay instructions themselves, just because I hope that'll be easier to work with, but I'll show you a few things on this video as well. So please do make sure you're reading the essay instructions. Again, there will be a whole other video for that, but I try to make them pretty thorough. And remember that it is up to you to make sure that you're reading those and that you understand the instructions and that you have any questions. So an issue that we have is people trying to pick a different short story or something, or a different poem to write about. You do need to write your essay about one of these 2 stories. We're only going to read 2 stories because I think that's plenty. You need to write your essay about one of these 2 stories. Okay, so that's a big thing. So you do need to read both of these stories this week. So the first one here is The Thing in the Forest by A.S. Byatt. I love this story, and I love A.S. Byatt. She's pretty cool. And so this is a story that is set outside of London, in London during the Blitz, which was in World War II when London and England were being bombed. So kind of some context for this story. London is being bombed, and so people would say, I live in London and I have a job, and I can't, even though there are bombs falling, I live here and I have to go to my job, and I'm stuck. But I have a couple of little kids and I really don't want them to die. So I'm going to send my kids off to the countryside with a bunch of other kids so that they will be safe from the bombs while I have to stay in London and do whatever it is that I'm doing. So that may seem kind of insane to us nowadays, and I cannot imagine doing that. That must have been really, really hard for a lot of people, including the children. Just know that that's the context going on here. So parents were shipping their kids off. Maybe they thought that the parents were gonna die, and that they didn't know how to explain it to their little kids. So there's just all this confusion and separation and trauma and all this stuff going on in the background of this. So just know that is the context for this story. This is not a wonderful copy of this story. This is just a scanned PDF. I cannot find this. I cannot find a better version of this, and I don't want to make you buy the book for just this one story. So it's kind of a crusty old PDF, but it is what it is. So do the best that you can. So some things to look for as you read this story would be compare and contrast. The story is about 2 little girls. As you read, try to get a really good mental picture for each of them. So her descriptions here, her imagery is fantastic. So just when she's talking about Penny, really try to imagine what Penny looks like. And then when she's talking about Primrose, really try to imagine what Primrose looks like. So the descriptions here are fantastic. Really take the time to imagine this one, and you'll get way more from it. So remember to slow down and think of the images, imagine it, and to compare and contrast the 2 girls, both what they look like and how they respond to this traumatic thing that happens to them. So one thing this week's discussion board is going to ask you to do is to decide if the author is saying that one of the girls is coping better than the other, okay? Because spoiler alert, in the end, one of the girls ends up as an adult kind of giving over to her PTSD and dying. She doesn't kill herself or anything, but she kind of breaks down and gives up on life. And then another one of the girls takes the bad things that have happened to her and makes it into kind of a fairy tale. So see if you think that the author is prioritizing one coping mechanism over another here. So some big theme words you could look for here, would be war and trauma and coping. I'm making this story sound really bleak, and it really necessarily isn't. It's almost it's more of a fairy tale than anything. So the genre this story would fall under would be magical realism. So there's realistic, it's set in the real world, but there's this weird fantasy element to it. So I hope you enjoy this one. It's a it's a cool, I really like the story. So yeah, look for how different the girls are. Just read this one slowly, and you may even be able to, I believe there are like audiobook versions of this available, or like if you look up YouTube videos or something. So this one has really good descriptions, and just think about the differences between the two girls and how things work out for them based on how they deal with stuff. Okay, and let's see. We're gonna go back. So that's The Thing in the Forest by A.S. Byatt. And then you also have Sonny's Blues by James Baldwin. So Sonny's Blues is kind of a technically perfect short story that's got like all of these classic short story elements to it. And for this one in your discussion post, it's going to ask you to think about the darkness. So like straight away, there's darkness here on the first page. Think about how light, like, so he's going to ask you to imagine lots of different light and darkness in this story. So just notice how the author is using light and dark in this story. You can also kind of try to think about whether or not you think it has a happy ending. And you can also think about this one in terms of like internal conflict. So both the narrator and his brother Sonny experience a lot of internal conflict, probably way more conflict than they experience between each other or with the world. It's a lot of internal conflict here, so just kind of look out for that. This one is a bit longer, so it'll take, this one I would say would take you probably like an hour or so to read. Like if you look up a YouTube video of this being read aloud, and I even think it's on Spotify, it's about an hour, and the other one's not quite as long, but these are kind of longer. So just strap in for that. Know that these are the only 2 short stories that you have to read for this unit, but that they are pretty long. So your main thing you're going to do this week is read. So yeah, so watch the video for the instructions. Then you've got 2 short stories to read, and here is the discussion topic that has instructions this week. Yay! So you're going to read both short stories, and you're going to answer for both short stories. So remember to refresh the Literary Toolbox doc, watch that video again if you want to, but just think about how the literary elements are at work in your story. So for Sonny's Blues, look at symbol and metaphor, dark and light. There's all sorts of other stuff as well, like he talks about having, like on the first page, he talks about having this like ice block in his stomach where he's just like anxious, and I don't know, I really like that when he said it. So look for the ice block, look for darkness and light, look how comparisons, descriptions, all that good stuff. Sonny's Blues also uses a lot of flashbacks. Look for those, and look for the internal conflict, like I already said, and then just write something about those things in your discussion post. You do not have to use the suggestions that I've given you here, but you can. So these are ones I've taught both these stories multiple times, so just these are ones that tend to be good to look for. So I've given you some suggestions. You don't have to definitely use these things, but just suggestions. And for The Thing in the Forest, imagery, symbol, how the thing is described. I didn't talk about that earlier. It has lots of descriptive language, like sensory and descriptive detail. So when you get to the thing, and you'll know it, look at the descriptive and sensory detail, look at the characters, look at the narrative stance, and don't forget, for full credit for your discussion post, to respond to 2 other people by the following Tuesday. Add something this time. So before I've kind of been like, just read other people's post and say anything about it and you'll get full credit. But now we're going to try to level it up a little bit so that we're actually discussing things. So add an observation, ask a question, build on something like that. So I know that's such a pain in the butt thing. And I would, if you have any ideas for how to make discussion boards less painful in online classes, I'm open to it. Just let me know. Cause I know it's frustrating and it kind of sucks, but it's what we got right now. So if you have any cool ideas, happy to listen to those. So that's really all you got to do this week. Watch this video, read the instructions for the essay, watch the video for the essay instructions, read this stuff. It will take you a couple hours to read all this, and then write a discussion post. So that's all. Hope you guys have a great week.